Mic check, mic check. All right, we're good to go. There we go. Hey, Danny, can you hear me? No. Hey, Danny, you're muted. Sorry, let me unmute you. There we go. Hey, how's it going?
It's going well, man. Mm.
Going good.
Had
How's the
the
inspection going? Everything looks good
it's
so
coming.
far?
It's so far so good.
Okay, good stuff, good stuff. Yeah, let's I want to go over the door knocking method with you, right? And then
Yeah.
let's schedule a time for us to do the mind mapping. The mind
Yeah.
mapping is one of the key things, especially for the new year coming up. It's actually exercised to really have your subconscious mind, be aligned with, what your goals are for 2025. So that what we could schedule. But I know you wanted to go over the door knocking method, so let me just go over that with you. All right, you can see my screen.
Yeah, it's starting.
Okay, perfect. Okay, cool. So door knocking, just to give you the insight on me, like I've been in different industries. I have a marketing background, marketing and in all different areas. I've been doing door knocking for different companies, energy companies, and things like that. So, the strategies that I brought into real estate have been really effective because door knocking it is somewhat of a science, right? And it does lead to a lot of business, and it's so I want to go over it because a lot of times people feel the one common thing what people do when they're door knocking is they'll come to the house and they say, okay, knock knock, do you want to sell your house? And that person, no, I don't want to sell. And then they'll just go to the next door and just ask everyone if they want to sell their house. But by doing that, you're leaving a lot of money on the table, right? Because sometimes people aren't ready today, but they may be ready 3 months from now, or they may be ready 4 months from now, or 5 months from now, right? So if you're just going in with one objective, right, then you're actually really missing out, right? Over here, just history on me. Like I said, I've been doing door knocking for years, but not just that. My background is in marketing, right? So as you're introduced to Create Wealth Network, which is our company, this door knocking method is just one tool to help you get leads and scale your business. But I also have other programs and things to really help you scale your business. I'm well versed in the online world, so digital advertising, running ads and campaigns and funnels, just like how you were introduced to me here, right? Same thing with the campaign, but I also do that with my real estate clients. I work a lot with builders, developers, and they contact me because they know in terms of my reach on the online tip. I've been bringing a good decent amount of customers in pre-construction, right? But it's the formula for the business and online business. That's something that I'm going to share after the mind map session. To really show you the full scope of what we could really help assist you with in your business, right? But right now with the mind map, what I'm going to go over is first off introduction and intent, narrowing the gap, the power of market knowledge, right? Asking for contact information, right? Handling objections, marketing material, asking the right questions, the importance of taking notes, asking for a tour, and then follow up strategies. And of course, how to be accountable for your results. Before I get into it, do you have any question, anything to say before I get into it?
Not at all. Go ahead, man. You're on.
All right, good stuff. Okay, cool. So introduction and intent, right? So obviously, when you're going door to door, you have to have an intent. There's an intent when you're going out, right? And the key to door knocking success lies in what's behind your efforts, right? So every door knock that you knock on, you're making a first impression, right? You're building relationships with people. Our business, that's what we're in. We're in a relationship building business. I'm sure you already know that. It's all about your connection with the person that you connect with. And then from there, you get a lot of business, right? Every realtor, I'm sure, even with yourself, we know the best business is referral business, right? Because once you give someone a good service and they do work with you, anyone they refer you to, they're not even looking anywhere else. They're going to use you, right? Because you were referred and you gave that good intention. So, when you're going door knocking, that should be in your mind. Okay, how can I build rapport and how can I really go and, build a relationship with this new person that's not in my circle of influence? They're brand new circle, and then you could tap into their circle of influence, right? So, but pretty much with owners, the main objective is that you genuinely want to help them. So if you genuinely want to help them and you're going to the doors and you say, oh, do you want to sell your home? You're not really going in with the intent of helping them because maybe they don't want to sell their home. But more than likely, they do have interest in real estate, right? So that's when narrowing the gap comes in, right? So, every home that you approach is a new encounter, right? Homeowners often view unsolicited door knockers with suspicion. So right at the beginning, they're gonna wonder, who is this person, right? So your first challenge is narrowing the gap, right? And this is the psychological gap, which is the distance between you and the homeowner, right? So one simple way to do this is through your body language, right? So when you knock on the door and ring on the doorbell, take a step back,
Yeah.
to like closer to the curb, to the edge of the home, right? And this gives a homeowner enough space to feel safe when opening the door, right? And as you engage and lower your guard, you can come closer to strengthen. So you actually see them opening up the door based on your conversation from initial. So first the door will be narrow, and then as you open up, then you'll start to realize that they actually open up and they'll be wide open. They may even come outside and start talking to you, right? So how do we do this? By doing this, first off, we got to diffuse the tension. So reaching out, shaking your hand is one great way. Another great way is if you have marketing material, right? We'll go over that. So if you hand them something for them to review as you're at the door, so then they know, okay, this is who I am. So handing your card is good, but when you hand your card, the first thing that they're going to think is, okay, this person wants to sell my house, right? So it's good to get marketing material that shares with them the array of services that you could offer to them, right? So not only, yes, of course, selling their house is one, but also, there's other services that we offer as realtors, right? So now we want to, and then also another thing that you can hand to them is your stat sheet, right? Because you're a professional and you have the market knowledge. And even though now the data is in MLS and people are able to go and see some data, not everyone has the data ready for them. So, one thing that I always go out with is data sheets. So the data's in their area specifically. So on their street, on a data sheet, it should show their street on there, right? Because that's a key element to help them open the gap because now you're coming with the market knowledge. They see, okay, he's a professional, and everybody wants to know what the homes in the area are selling for, right? So that home evaluation sheet is a key element, right? And always carry that stat sheet, showing what's happening in local market. This immediately positions you as the expert. And when a homeowner sees that you know the pricing trends, the time the homes are staying on the market, the recent sales, whatever you could tell them that is more data than they will know, because mostly what they just know is that the house is here and what it's sold for. But if they notice the data, month out over month, how it's been changing, and even if you come with certain news articles, that support what's going on with the market, and you're educating them, it makes them more engaged, right? This data sheet, what I do when I go to the door, I hand it to them, right? And then when I hand it to them, I actually remember we started from at the curb at the end of the porch. But when you give the data sheet, now you're actually coming closer to them because you have to explain it to them, right? So as you're going and you're explaining this data sheet to them, if as you take a look here, this home it recently sold, this is what it sold for. As you see, it's a 3 bedroom and four washroom, right? And then you ask them how many bedrooms do you have, right? How many bedrooms you have is a great question to ask because they're gonna now they're personalizing it. Oh, I have 3 bedrooms, and they always answer. They always answer. Oh, I got 3 bedrooms, or I got 4 bedrooms. Okay, oh great, 4 bedrooms. Let's take a look on the sheet here to a house that matches yours. Look at this house over here. It has 3 bedrooms and 3 washrooms, just like yours, right? And it's sold for this price. How do you like this price, right? And then they'll get more engaged, right? You'll see them start paying it more attention because now they understand on the data and the sheets that you have, they have. So then they may even, if they're interested, if the price is interested into them, right? Then they may say, okay, how much can I get for my house, right? And when you say, oh, get for your house, well, over here, this is an average cost, but I'm also doing home evaluation for you, as you see over here. I'm also do a home evaluation for you where because your house looks unique, and you may even want to compliment them on things that you see from your front door. From the front door, you say, "Oh wow, I already noticed your chandelier there that you have there. I can already see you have hardwood floor. So your home and more than likely priced for more. Do you mind if I come take a look?" You'll be surprised. A lot of people let you walk in their house and come take a look right away, or you can even schedule a time for them, to let you get a walkthrough in their home to do a home evaluation. This market data sheet is so key, right? And at first off, they know you're expert. You're showing them the data. You show them you related to their home, and then now they're personalizing it, and they want to know, okay, what about my house, right? And then you can give them your house, right? But most importantly, what you want to do is you want to get their contact information as early as possible and efficiently as possible, right? And one program that I use is Harvest. So if you go inside on your guide when you download it, actually a link to actually download Harvest. If you see here, right, and you could go on your phone. So you see Harvest. Have you heard about Harvest?
No, I have not.
Okay. So Harvest is an app for realtors that do door knocking. Right. So what it actually does is it goes in the streets, so wherever you are, whatever area that you're door knocking, right? Once you click on a go, it's actually going to target the whole home area, right? And then in the home area, you click on the home, and then once you click on the home, it pulls up and it asks you, okay, is the client interested? Are they not interested, or are they not home? Right? And then it automatically populates their address, right? If they have a suite number, you put that in, and then it has a note section for you to write in notes, right? And it's free, but if you want to upgrade, you could upgrade and get the paid version. It's a free app that you should download on your phone, especially if you're going door knocking, because what it does is it gets all the metrics for you. So once you go out canvassing, say for example, you're going canvassing today, right? And you want to go to 30 homes in the house, you're going to use the Harvest app. Each home you go to, you're going to press on it. And then if they're not home, you're going to put not home. If they're interested, you're going to put interested with their details, whether they're a warm, cold, or hot lead. And then you're going to write in your notes for that home. Then when you get home, then you retrieve it and you put it into your CRM, right? But what happens is it also shows you data. So say for example, you see here it says okay, 73%. That is say on the day that you go out, then you go to a certain amount of doors, say 10 doors. You go to 10 doors, and from the 10 doors, you got two leads, right? Then that's a 20% lead generation efficiency. But let's say if you go to 10 homes and 8 of them were not home, and then you got two leads, then that's 100% efficiency because you only talked to two people, right? So it kind of shows your metrics each day of how you performed in your door knocking effort, right? And the great thing with this now is that now when you are going out, everything's tracked and you can see your efficiency, in terms of how you're performing when you're going door knocking. If you use this door knocking method, your efficiency should be high. You should get around maybe 30% on average, 30% based on when you go out. That's on average stats, but hey, you could even try to get better, but 30% is really good, man. 30% every time you go out, every 10 contacts you talk to, you get 3 leads. No, that's really great. But handling objections and common rejections and overcoming them, right? One of the main things that people will say, as you're engaging it is, I already have an agent. I'm sure you heard that often, right? I already have an agent, right? So one response that I use often and it works very well, right, is, that's great. I work with a lot of agents too, and there's so much that we could do in real estate. Everyone has their specialty. I specialize working with homeowners in this specific area, right? A lot of times when people have an agent they're working with, they may not live on their street or work in their area, right? So the fact that you're an expert in the area, they may overlook whoever they know already because you're a specialist in that area, right? Another thing that I mentioned is I also don't mind co-listing with other agents. That actually works better for you, and you get two professionals representing you, right? So I actually even have a listing on the market right now where I'm co-listing, right, with an agent that the owner, already had, right? But the benefit for that agent is that they don't live in Brampton. I'm in the Brampton area. They don't live in Brampton. They live like an hour and some change away, but they still get the benefit from the listing because we're co-listing. So they're still doing their part, right? But when it comes to people that want to see it and show it, I'm right here. So I could go and I could show it to them, right? So at the end of the day, hey, it's 50% is better than zero, right? So at the end of the day, we could co-list or whatever. You could work your splits, right? So you can work your splits if you're working it more, you can work, but at the same time, what this does is the homeowner, they feel more comfortable because now they're not shutting out that family member or the friend that they have. They still get to earn something, but then you also get to earn something from it as well. So really try that out. That really works really well, right? I'm not interested right now, right? So a response is not a problem. I just to understand, first off, another a question I ask is, what are you not interested in, right? Most of them, because you want to clarify, right? And then most of them say, okay, I'm not planning to sell my house, because that's usually what people think when people come door knocking, right? So then after, I can ask, okay, if you ever thought, have you ever thought about, at any point, have you ever thought about selling, right? And more than likely, maybe why? Oh, why? What is it about your home that you're not comfortable with that you may plan on moving, right? And then they can say it's too big, or they need an extra room, or they want to downsize, whatever the case may be, right? And that kind of opens up, the market. And the same thing when they say we're happy where we are. That's fantastic. It's a great neighborhood. How long have you lived here? So we're agreeing, right? And after, I'll be happy to provide you with market updates, in case you're always in a loop. And then also you can ask for, referrals or whatever the case may be. Another question is, I'm busy right now. I totally understand. I can leave you my contact information. Also, if I could get your contact real quick, so then, we could talk more and I could give you more insight on what's happening. Remember, you want to get the contact information. That's the main objective when you're at the door. Of course, the longer the conversation, the more rapport. You'll meet some people that are ready right away. But the main thing is, if you get their contact information and you have your CRM. Do you use a CRM?
Yes, I do.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So, main thing, get them in your CRM. Get them in your CRM, send them stuff, call them every so often, and then eventually they'll come down the road. Right. So the market isn't right for selling. That's a question. Right. You're absolutely right. I'm a full service realtor. I don't only sell properties. I advise my clients on other profitable real estate strategies, including buying and investing. Right. So if they're not planning to sell, you could also sell them on some pre-construction. You could also sell them on investing in some multifamily or whatever the case may be. Right. You have other objectives that you can actually market them in. Right. Sorry, I just on my phone. Sorry, I just got a phone call.
Yeah,
Right now,
take
I'm
your
not
time.
ready to move. No, no worries, no worries. I'll call him right back. Right, I'm not ready to move in yet. I mean, not ready to move yet. Again, we're letting them know, and we're not just here to sell your home. Right, we're also here to do other things. We're full service realtors. There's other things that we do, not just sell a home. Right. I'm not comfortable sharing my contact information. That's fine. Get them on, if you can get them on social media, that's great. You can get that. Most people just give away their social media. So then now, if they're following you, now they can see all the work that you're doing, all the content that you're giving, and eventually they may come around. Right. I'm worried about the hassle of selling. Right. And then you let them know that's our job. That's why you work with a professional, because we're here to eliminate that hassle for you. What I could do is I could help you with decluttering services, staging services, cleaning services, renovations if you need it. All of everything that you need, I can help you. I can help service you. Right. We're just refinancing. Right. And after financing, that's great. Refinancing, smart move. Just so you know, many homeowners who refinance still like to stay informed about the market, right? And also, maybe rechannel that money into other things, right? I don't want to be bothered. And I hear you. My goal is to provide helpful information, not to be a bother. I know real estate can be overwhelming, and sometimes that is what I do. I can be your go-to person when it comes to real estate, so you don't have to be bothered, right? So some nice objection handling that you have, but the main thing obviously is to build that rapport, right? And as I mentioned, marketing material is great to have when door knocking. It gives you it buys you time at the door, right? Because at the same time as you're talking to them, they're reading through your content, and seeing what you have to offer, right? And then it can kind of get you. You can find that hook that will grab them, right? Top marketing methods, so direct mail campaigns. I don't know if you do any of these. What do you currently do right now for marketing?
For marketing, I'm doing Google ads and then some community events.
Oh, great, great. That's amazing. Right. So, all that and that's good. The community involvement, that's a really great thing. Sponsorship or, just being involved and making yourself a staple in that area. Right. And then, yeah, social media, Google ads, advertising is really good. Especially when your target focused in farming, then you could be that known realtor in your area. Right. But then also in your farming area over time, maybe you want to get some billboards, bus shelter ads, kind of just more for branding purposes. No one really calls. I don't know on your end, but personally, from the ads I have a few bus ads and stuff. I don't really get calls from bus ads, but I do have a farming area, right? And I have them in my farming area. So when I do go door knocking in the area, they already know me. Oh yeah, yeah, I seen your ad. I seen your billboard, right? So it's like kind of like familiarity, and then after it kind of like opens the door, they feel more comfortable and actually connect with me. Ask the right questions, right? How long have you lived here? You know, have you ever wondered about the current value of your home? You know, how many bedrooms do you have? You know, it's a really great question that kind of opens the door, gets them talking, right? How do you feel about this particular neighborhood? Is there anything about your home that you would consider upgrading and changing in the future if you could? Right? A lot of times, especially depending on the farming area that you are, you know, and but if people are in a place for more than 5 years, there's a high chance that they either outgrown the place or they're looking to make some kind of changes, right? So they may be looking for extra bedroom or whatever. So if there's anything that they could do if they could, right? And they may, oh yeah, you know what? I had someone that I was door knocking with the other day, and now she's definitely looking. We're looking for a new home for her, but she has a 3 bedroom home, right? And her and her husband occupy one. Her kids occupy the other one, and then her mom is in the other one, right? But now her kids, they're grown, they're much older now, you know, so they're old to where the room is too small for both of them. So now she needs an extra room, right? So that's a case where even though she may have felt comfortable when I asked that question, you know, is there anything that you would change about your home if you could? She's like, you know what? Like I would like to have an extra bedroom, you know, because my son is old, my kids are older, and they need their own rooms now, you know. So now I'm looking, I'm actually searching for another home for her, and then what? Obviously, once I find that home, then we'll be selling her house, kind of double end on that as well, right? So
Right.
if you had a price to sell your home today in today's market, what would it be? You know, this question is a funny question because all the time they overinflate their house price, right? Oh, you give me 2 million, I'll sell it. You know, whatever they say, whatever they want to say, they have a high number in mind, right? But if they throw a number out there, then they are somewhat considering to sell. You know, maybe it's not now, but they are considering to sell. So in a case like that, you say, okay, if you were to sell, you know, and you were to get that 2 million, what kind of house would you want to live in from there, right? And then after they could tell you, give you an idea on what kind of house they want, and you take those notes down, and then you say, oh, you know what? Here, how about this? I'm gonna start sending you some of these houses. You know, if you like anything, let's go take a look. No pressure, right? And hey, maybe you may find something that you like, right? And then they may want to sell afterwards, right? So these questions prompt owners to think about their needs, right? Providing you with information necessary to offer tailored solutions to them, right? And then the importance of taking notes, as I mentioned. So taking notes is something that you want to do at the door because once you take notes, it's kind of like an obligation that they have to give you their contact information, right? Because when you're taking notes, it's showing that you're the professional that's working on their behalf, right? And they had a request. You're taking notes down because you're actually going to go and do that work for them, right? Every time that when they see you taking notes, right, whether it's in your phone or you're writing it down, you know, it's an obligation. Like you could ask for their contact information because it's like, why are you taking notes for? In a sense, it's like kind of like a subconscious thing where they think, okay, this person's taking notes for me. I got to give my contact so they can get back to me, right? So taking notes is an important thing, right? And then obviously asking for a home evaluation. You can either do that, you know, while you're at the door. Obviously, you gauge them, right? You gauge them. Are you still there?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, so you know, you could gauge with them, see where they're at. Maybe they may let you walk in the house on the spot, or you could just set up another appointment for them to come in for you to give them that home evaluation. You know, more than likely, if they are giving a home evaluation, I'm sure you already know, right? Then they're looking to sell. You know, they have a plan to sell. You know, and they want to know your price. You know, but one thing that I found is, especially with homeowners, is you could give a general price, but always ask them what price they want to sell for, right? And they always have an inflated price, right? Which is cool. But you just go along with it to get the listing, you know. And then once you get the listing, then you can bring them back to reality, you know, and let them know what the real home price is. And then following up, man, following up, you know, just keeping them informed, you know, sending them market updates, you know, and that's another reason why a lot of people will give you once you give them that market update sheet and they see the market, you let them know, say, hey, what I do is I actually give this to all the homeowners in this area, and update, on the area, so that you could frequently see, when a new home comes on the market, when it sells, is that something that you would like to get updates for? And more than likely, they say yes, especially if they're interested in that market sheet. Okay, great. Let me get your contact info, right? And then you get their details, and then you keep sending that over to them, right? Offering free resources, scheduling future check-ins, maybe on check-in with them when market updates are happening, new news is happening. You contact them, let them know about the new news events that's going on, right? And then, like you said, community events, invite them to different events, about real estate, to be informed, and make them see you as their agent, right?
Correct.
So how do you hold yourself accountable, right? Accountability is a key component. The great thing with the harvest, it shows you your tracking methods, but we also have a community, of professionals, within our Mind Assistance program, which is the Create Wealth Network, right? So that's why, I would like to go through the Mind Assistance, the mind map for you, so I could give you the full scope of what we do. So this is one resource, but we have many other resources to support you, right? And during the mind map session, we want to go into your goals for 2025, right? We want to go into, what your mind and, some of your personal beliefs in your subconscious, right? And it's like a mental exercise, that we really go through, so we can really get a scope of where you are currently and then where you want to be, and then do the exercise so that we can actually assist you in getting those results that you're looking to get. And like I said, we have an accountability program, where we all are in the program. Everyone's has their goals written in, and everyone's kind of accountable to getting their goals done, right? That's a session that I actually want to book you in for. Is that something that you'd be interested in?
So what days are you looking at? What's the time?
Yeah. So my calendar's it does get booked by the day, but afternoon times, like around these times, and like I said, it's on Zoom. It's kind of like the session we're on now, right? But that one's less me talking and it's more me asking questions and going into your mind, right? And then after that, we actually send you a report. So based on a mind map session, we actually after the session we actually send it to you, so you have the clarity in terms of some of the blockages that you may have, and then also the goals that you have, and then next moving forward steps, to hold you accountable, so that that you have the next year you're up and running and you're accountable in the new year.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Hey, so is this like a coaching program?
Yeah. So it's a coaching program, but it's unique in a sense where um the accountability is on you, but because everyone in the network is also in the program, then everyone's holding each other accountable. So here I'll even show you. So we have a WhatsApp group, right? So the framework, and we have the courses online. So there are modules that you go through to learn more about the Mind Assistance program, right? But also from there we have our accountability group, which we have people in. So I'll show you over here, right? So in here, pretty much all you have to do is just your mind map. You read your map book, right? And the map book read, you're just notifying us that you read your map book. It's loading here, right? So everyone's accountable for goals that they have set. We go from the big picture, which is your vision. So what's the big picture, and then we go for your long term goals, and then we break it down to the week, to the month, to the day, right? So we see over here, map of red. Everyone's posted in their scores, and everyone's holding themselves accountable because we every day we report in 2 times a day on us reading our map book. Read the map book. It's not long. It takes about 5 minutes to go through it. There's a process that you go through it, right? For you to actually see that, okay, everyone's holding you accountable, everyone's accountable in the group, and everyone's writing in their map book and getting their goals. So in terms of results, the results are dependent on you, and that's why we have the accountability program. We have a tracker where, and I don't want to go deep into it. I would rather go through the mind map session, so I could really go and break through it in detail with you, right? But it's a community that's building for sure. And just the fact that even talking to you earlier, and you're all about learning and growing yourself, I feel that you're definitely someone that we want on board.
Okay, great. So what's the how much is the fees and what's the thing that to be part of the community?
In terms of fees and that it's the range, right? So it all depends on what you specifically feel is gonna benefit you the most, right? So I'm gonna go over everything, and there's different price points for everything. So it's all about what you want. Like we're gonna actually cater it to you, and again, each thing that we have, like there other things are available, but it's just kind of like okay, what you feel you need right now, right? So for example, we have this the door knocking method PDF, and then we also have the video course, right? The video course, where I kind of go through everything and explain it at the door, like it's more interactive in a sense, right? So that's at a next level. Then we have the mind map. Then we have the science of online business, where we show you how to run your system online, how to get a lead magnet, how to use the effectively AI tools. Like there's a lot of different things to help you scale your business, right? But I'll go over that in a session. So there's not like one price in a sense. It's like kind of like it's more catered to what you want to do.
Okay, great. I think my client will be in now in the house for the
Yep.
inspection, so we'll have to end it up here. But we can schedule a next meeting and then take it from there.
Yeah, exactly. Let's do that. So this week, how does it look for you?
It's a little tight this week.
Okay, so let's do next week then. All
I think
right.
let's do next week. Yeah.
Yeah. So next week, I'm just pulling it up here. So I have okay book appointment. So next week, Tuesday. Does Tuesday work for you? Kind of like today?
That's December what? Tuesday, third. Okay, let's do that.
Yeah. So December 3rd, and let's do it around the same time, 11 a.m. That works?
Yeah,
Okay, perfect. Okay. All right, cool. So I'll book you in on a Tuesday, 11 a.m. All right, good stuff. Danny,
yeah,
okay,
man.
good connecting with you. And yeah, I look forward to, your success in 2024. Also, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you the link to our group. So I'm actually just started a community, a door knocking community, right? So, for realtors to join, kind of give your insights on your experience while you're out there, knocking doors and stuff like that. Really want to, I want to play my part in our industry, and just offer as much value as possible, so everyone has its success. All right. So I'll send you the link on in your text for the door knocking, and then I'll send you the invite in your calendar as well.
Okay, sir. Cool.
All right. Okay, great. Have a good
Awesome.
day, man.
Thank you.
God bless.
Yeah, you too,
Yeah, you're
brother.
welcome.
Take care. Bye.
Yeah.